What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis. Today I'm happy to show off the UZ65 from Eachine. Here it is, up to 100 milliwatt on the video transmitter. It is a 1S 300 milliamp little brushless whoop, and it does have 0802 motors on here, 19,000 kV. It does have a pretty durable frame. I did hit some concrete with it, and I don't have any broken struts in here, which is kind of amazing. It has a little battery tray on the bottom here as well, and a USB port for a data cable connecting to Betaflight. If you're brand new getting into FPV, you want to fly drones indoors and outdoors, this is an easy one to get. It costs around $85 right now. I think it's on a flash sale on Banggood's website. They have a limited amount of units. So the first thing you need to know about this little guy is that it does fly for about, I guess if you're just mild flying, the flight time is going to be around 2.5 minutes. And I don't like to beat around the bush for that, but it does come with 4 batteries in the box, which is cool. It also comes with a little USB charger you can stick in the wall or any type of laptop. It has a 2.0 connector on here and the original size smaller one. But this one comes with batteries that fit the 2.0 connector, which is on the bottom of this quad. You have your battery tray here, just slide it in, and once you have it bound up to your transmitter and all your channel maps are working, you're good to fly. Now I do have a Betaflight tutorial on my channel. If you want to go back and just type in on YouTube Betaflight for Dummies, and you'll find the process of doing this. So that's a total other video, but this video is for the beginners up to about intermediate, because this quad is really fast. And I'm an experienced flyer, but it's a lot of fun to fly. And mainly because we have a decent camera on here and up to 100 milliwatt, which will actually get you up and down the street, probably about 1.5 blocks to 2 blocks down the street before you start losing reception. But the SPI receiver, in my experiences, will only go a couple football fields out before you fail safe. One other really cool thing about this quad is that it does come with RSSI setup. So my RSSI is going to be in the top left-hand corner of the screen. When we do the flight test, you'll see that number going up and down. When I go around the house outside, you'll see that that number tends to drop out a little bit, but the camera looked okay. I feel like as far as in beginner mode, you can start out in stability mode and you can fly pretty much anywhere you want to go. It's actually pretty fast as well. So I had to kind of back off the throttle, under 50% throttle here. And most of the time I was cruising at about 35 to 40% throttle. You can also see the throttle on the screen when we do the flight test. It'll be down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But I have to say that nothing came back broke. All the struts are still here. I didn't break anything on the concrete. I did slam it down on the concrete a couple times. I got a couple scratches on the very top, but this is a really lightweight quad as well. 22 grams on the scale. With the battery, it gets it up to about 30 grams on the 1S 300 milliamp. You could also get a little bit larger batteries. I'll put some links down to some G&B batteries below that'll get you up to about the 3-minute mark. And that's what most guys want for a tiny whoop. But the 02 motors that are on here, these are 0802 motors, and they're 19,000 kV. It also has a 5 amp ESC all-in-one board on here. This is an F4 by Crazy Bee. So it hooks up to Betaflight. When you bind up your receiver, you want to type in bind_RX, hit return, and it'll put this little guy into binding mode. Plugging a data cable into the bottom of it where the USB cable is enough to power up the board from your computer. So it will be on. Make sure that your transmitter is in bind mode in D8, and then you can go ahead. Once your transmitter is in bind mode and it's beeping, go ahead and type in bind_RX, and then moments later you'll hear telemetry found on your radio. So you should hear that. Once you hear that, you're bound up and ready to go. You can check out your channel maps in Betaflight, make sure that everything is running correctly. But right now, let's go ahead and go outside and do some flying with this little quad, because I think you're gonna like it. It is extremely fun, and you can go a lot of places with these little guys. And actually one of the best buys out there right now at like $85, bind and fly with your FR Sky Tyrannus radio. And by the way, you can also put crossfire on this guy, so you could send it out there if you want to go a little further out. But 1S, I mean, you know, it's kind of like a close-in proximity flyer. You can also put DSMX and FlySky receivers on this one as well. So let's go ahead outside now. Let's do the flight test. Here we go. Okay guys, let's go ahead and do a drone camps flight test of the UZ65 from Eachine. we're going to get about 3 minutes out of this battery, which is really cool. So we're just going to do some mild cruising here. We're testing out that VTX to see how much breakup we get with the dipole antenna. I'm only running 25 right here, so it's actually going to be a little better. Once you guys crank it up to like 100 milliwatt, you wouldn't have quite as much breakup around the chimney like that. But around any super solid objects, guys, with analog FPV, if you're new to it, you can expect this kind of breakup. The only way you can really get rid of this type of breakup is if you're using DJI digital FPV system. And these quads are so small and quiet that the girl didn't even turn around. She just, you know, it's pretty much not something that worries people or bothers anybody. You don't want to fly up next to anybody, obviously, but people in the neighborhood barely even notice that these little quads are there. This is great. 65 millimeter. It weighs 22 grams and 30 grams with a battery on it. So it is really not a nuisance in the neighborhood, which is kind of cool. You know, a lot of you guys are looking for something that's going to be lightweight and cheap. Number one, it's really cheap to run this one. I think a new frame might cost you a couple dollars on this one, maybe $5 for a new frame. The batteries are cheap. You can get 5 packs of these. I'll put some links down below for some, I believe they're UAV 330 milliamp batteries, or the GNB batteries, a little bit higher quality. I'll give you choices for both down below. But I'm feeling it now, and it feels like it has tons of control and stability mode. There's a lot of levels to this quad because honestly, you can really pick up a lot of speed. And right there, notice the top left hand of the screen, I'm down to 30% RSSI right there, so I'm getting low on my receiver. So if it goes down to 0, you're gonna fail safe. So keep that in mind. Now we're gonna do a little bit higher throttle now with a little more control. And it really is quick and feels snappy on the sticks. I will also share my PIDs with you guys. I did a little PID tuning on this one to make it fly a little better, and it seems to have really helped smooth out the camera a lot. Running tri-props today. You can also run quad props, but really fast if you push it full stick. And the camera's good enough that I can see people coming down the sidewalk, so I'm not worried about running into anybody. But way faster than whoops that we had even just a couple years ago. This quad is way faster and a lot more fun. So I'm also going to show you guys some indoor footage, and we're just going to run through a quick indoor flight, and I'll show you guys how it performs inside. Not the best flight I've ever done, but we're going to do it anyway. It's just awesome quad. Really a lot of fun. And I found out that inside I really had to back off the throttle a lot. I was in around probably 25 on a cruise. Once I get going straight here and I level off, it might drop down to about 30 in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And look at those amazing gaps you can pull off with like a little tiny brushless whoop. Underneath the table there, just barely. Prop cards will help you get away with just about anything. And my friend Ben there is pretty impressed with how small it is. The first time he's ever seen one of these before. He thought it was super cool. And again, you're able to bump off of stuff, so don't worry about it if you bump into something. The neat thing about this one also is that you can fly it to the other end of the house, and again, I'm only running 25 milliwatt here, so I'm kind of pushing it to the end of the house. And my RSSI dropped down to about 35 out of 100. But it's interesting, right here in front of myself, I'm about 60 to 50, down the hallway, back out. Great little place to fly around. And he was asking me to fly up close so he could see it. Of course, guard your face. You don't want to get these stuck in your sister's hair. That's going to be a bad day if you do that. So watch out for your sister's or your mom's or your wife's hair. Long hair, they will suck, those motors will suck hair straight into them, and you have to have scissors to get them out, so be careful. But stability mode, no problem. Acro mode indoors was pretty challenging, so anybody that is really experienced, you might be able to slow the throttle down enough to be able to do acro indoors, but it's going to take some extreme practice for acro. Stability is just way more fun indoors. And once I'm really starting to feel it. So now I'm able to find my lines, and there we go. I crashed. I do crash, guys. It is something that I do. So I like to show some crashes on this channel. But now I wanted to show you one last quick little flight test. This battery was going to be all for acro mode. So I wanted to see how much force this quad can handle. And by force, I mean how much throttle and flips and rolls. There's a little punch out with a flip, no problem. No washout so far, which is really good. So now I'm going to get a little more radical, throwing in a loop into that, and no washout on that maneuver. Now let's try a dive. We're going to go all the way to the top of this evergreen and back down. A little bit of washout there at the bottom. Right there, you can see it kick out to the right. So that's what we call washout, but it wasn't bad enough that it crashed me, which is good. Now just another little loop around that power line. And the camera's good enough that you can see the power lines coming, which is cool. I wouldn't say this is the top camera I've ever flown with, and right into the Prius. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. So, okay, let's just get right down to it, and let's talk about performance first. Performance was as expected, because when you get to something this small, you know it's going to have some tumble characteristics. It did have some tumble characteristics when I was flying in acro. When I was really pushing it to do a loop or something like that, we would come back down, we would have some wobble, some washout, as it's called, but it wasn't an end game, because it didn't make me crash. But I think that I would say it's a mild freestyle quad. It is okay for learning flips and rolls, but that's about it. To be able to do a power loop, I think that might be pushing it with this quad for a little bit, and that that's going up and around and back over. I was able to kind of come back around, but I had a little bit of washout on some of those loops. So one thing to think about there. But flips and rolls, no problem. It flies great and really, really fast in acro mode. So that's one good thing. As far as starting out, if you're a beginner, start out in that stability mode and you're going to have a good experience. It's going to fly fast for you. You can also change the throttle height limit, so you can set your throttle to something that you're more comfortable with starting out, and that way you're not flying 100% throttle. If you set it back to about 80, it'll be a more mild experience for you. And I think durability wise, it came back in one piece. So I think if you want to get a new frame for this and transfer these components over to a new frame, it's not a super hard job to do that. It is possible. And this is a good place to start. Start out with one of these before you move up to a 5-inch quad and you're trying to work with your soldering iron and do all that. This is going to be plug and play VTX here. It plugs in the camera and the VTX plug in together here, so no soldering required there. The dipole did pretty good. I did have some breakup when I got around the other side of the house, but running 100 milliwatt versus 25, that is a great value on something like this, because for $85, I would expect that it came with 25 milliwatt and that was it. And a lot of guys, I know you guys complain about 25 milliwatt, so this one's running up to 100, which is fantastic. Now also, if you want to get a little bit longer flight time, I can put some batteries down below for you. They're going to be 1S 330 milliamp, around that range, from G&B. Just going to give you upwards of 3 minutes like most of you guys are looking for. So pretty easy to bind up, set up in Betaflight. And again, I'm going to try to put a link down below for that Betaflight for Dummies video. You guys can go through that and get familiar with Betaflight. Download the latest version and get this one running. It's really not that hard. We also have a props out configuration here as well, which it does help for these smaller style whoops. One other thing that I wanted to mention was that I'm using my Eachine 6-in-1 charger, and this charger is way better than the one that comes with it. The one that comes with it, it's going to charge up a battery in about 10 minutes time, but this little guy right here, this will charge up to 6 of them at once. You can get adapters for the Beta FPV style plug right here, but this also does regular lipos and HV lipos. The ones that come with your quad, if you're going to buy one of these, this is the HV lipo. So it's going to charge up to a little higher standard voltage. It starts out about 3.8, so it'll charge up to about 4.3, and then it'll stop. but it takes a little over 10 minutes to charge one of these. But the cool thing about this type of charger is that as long as I have batteries going on here, you'll see it flashing really fast. That means that it's done. It'll be solid green when it's charging. And the coolest thing is that as fast as I can charge these, I'm flying them and I just about hardly ever run out of batteries, because every time I turn around to get a new battery, there's another one ready. And that's the great thing about these. They also run on a 4S 1300 or 1550 battery. So you can charge a lot of 1S batteries on this type of setup. And I believe these are around $13. They're totally worth the money. I have a handful of them that I use. So far, I haven't had a lot of issues with this quad. This one is a fun one and at a good price. So I'm gonna say that this one's one of my picks. This one would be easy to get started and is suggested by my channel for any of the new guys getting into it, or if you just want a whoop to fly around the house. Brushless whoops, they're really fast and a lot of fun. So thanks again for watching my channel, guys. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, be well, and stay safe out there. And if the quarantine kicks back up, you got something to fly. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.